Okay, so here we are in After Effects. I've got something labeled over here, another composition called Fancy. So you can actually take a shape and do some fancy things like this with it. So that's what I'm going to show you right now, is this animation right here, if you're looking for kind of an abstract animation. So I'm going to go make a new composition. As I always recommend, just making it HD. I think 4K is a bit too big for the computer's rendering and all that. So keep it 1920 by 1080 HD size. Just go, okay. Same drill as before. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go new and I'm going to go shape layer. I'm just going to go up here. I'm going to go to my ellipse, hold the shift key down, make that ellipse right there. I don't want to fill, so I've clicked on the fill label here, go no fill. And I'm going to make this color a bit brighter. Let's increase that size. So where all the magic happens is down in here in this add button. You can go here. In the add button here, just really quickly, popular thing for people to tinker around with is this pucker and bloat option. You throw that on there. You see it now throws it on down in here underneath the ellipse. So I can go to pucker and bloat and I can change the amount and make that kind of bounce around. I could set this to 0, let's say, if I'm doing a pucker and bloat. Click here with my keyframe, bloat that way, and bloat that this way. And then I've got an animation in like 2 seconds. So that's pucker and bloat that you can just throw on there from the add thing. And I'm going to show you other tips and tricks with the add. So if I've thrown something on that I don't want anymore, but I might want it, I'm going to turn the eyeball off, and now I won't see that effect. Another nice thing in the add is this trim paths. So if I go to the trim paths here, if I open that up, you can see that I can animate a start and an end point. So I'll get to that in a second, but here's the end point. So I put on the trim paths here. I'm going to enable the start keyframe and enable the end keyframe here. And I'm going to animate the start going here, like this. And now I have that line doing this. What I might want to do is move my end point over here, get rid of that end point, and then bring the start point back. And I could have lots of fun just playing around with trimming the paths with the start and end points, doing stuff like this. I've got that in there as a test. If I just turn the eyeball off and I want to instead I want to use pucker and bloat, I can just turn the eyeball on. There's my pucker and bloat without the trim paths. If I want to use both of those, I could turn the eyeball on both of them. And then weird things start happening like that. Turn those off. Go into the ellipse here. I'm going to show you something. If you want a dash stroke, you open up this stroke here and you see there are dashes here in this area. So I could just go and add a dash. And you can change the size of the dash right here. You can actually animate that size too if you're paying attention to that, right? So you can go -0, keyframe that in, and then you can animate the dash like this. So now I've animated the dash coming in. Likewise, if you're just tinkering around, you can see, oh, there's a taper. So if I go here, what does taper do? You see if I start dragging that, it tapers the start point and tapers the end points here. So you can you can animate taper as well. And I set these back at 0. And I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm just going to animate a start and an end to the taper. Maybe not go that low, maybe about there. And there you go. So you can start animating very quickly with this, with just one shape. You can add dashes, you can add tapers. Let me show you something else to the dash here really quickly. You might be saying to yourself, what is the plus and the minus for? So if you go plus, you can actually add gaps. You can change this to add gaps in between the dash, and that changes the nature of it. So you could be literally going down a rabbit hole for a few hours just getting the most amazing dash and gap animation if you want. If you go minus, it just gets rid of the dash or the gap if you don't want it anymore, but you can keep adding things and checking that out. You throw an ellipse on, you have access to the stroke already built into that. And then you can animate dashes and tapers and even waves if you want to check that out. But I find the most effective thing to be dashes and tapers, mainly dashes. And now you know about the add button here. pucker and bloat, and then the power of trim paths. And the other really powerful thing here in the add area is repeater. So I can go here to this repeater tool, and then I can animate the amount of copies. I can play around with the offset if I needed to. I don't really touch offset a whole lot, but let's say if I start with 0 copies here, maybe I need 1 copy, obviously. Start with 1 copy, the original. Let's animate copies coming in to say 5. And then before you know it, there I'm adding copies. And you can see down here you have the transform repeater, and you can change the scale of the repeater. So I can come in here. I find the repeater thing super cool, to be honest. It's really handy if you're just wanting to do something funky, abstract thing for a video or a voiceover. Go here to the scale that up, then all of a sudden it becomes like a warp tunnel just randomly. I didn't really plan that, but I like it. There you go. So that's the repeater, and then you can actually keyframe a rotation when you get it there and rotate that around. Keyframe your position over here, see what that'll do. You need to start playing around with it. And there you go. Repeater, position, rotation. Down here, if we close this, we have our pucker and bloat turned off and our trim paths turned off. So what if we try turning those on and seeing what the animation looks like? There you go. All sorts of interesting things you can do with just one shape, just with the add button, and just going into the actual shape and playing around and animating the stroke.